I don't like saying the same thing week in and week out, but I know there are a few people that stumble across ups and downs, so we need to catch them up to speed. But the wildcard rule, which is now officially dead, as you all know, is genuinely ruining SmackDown because it just doesn't make any sense. Some feuds from Raw carry over, but then there are brand new feuds that are happening on SmackDown, but they don't relate to what's happening on Raw, and it's just really confusing. Let's just do it. Let's just get into it. My name is Simon Miller. It's still damn hot here in the UK, hence all of this. But let's up those downs for SmackDown. SmackDown started with Shane McMahon saying, I'm just going to read it to you. He said, last night the fear finally consumed Roman Reigns. He had to face his two greatest rivals. Not true in any sense. His back was against the wall. His fate was inevitable. And then there was more gibberish too, including staring into the Undertaker's face of death, but surviving. So, hello, my name is Simon Miller and welcome to episode 3 of Nobody Talks Like That. Shane McMahon, if you are indeed gonna open a show like SmackDown and you want to put out some threats towards Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, maybe you just want to talk normally so I can actually buy in and believe what you're saying. You sounded a bit like you were telling me a poem. I don't need to hear any poems in my pro wrestling. That's for watching, and remember, nobody talks like that. He also let the whole roster know that they shouldn't get on his bad side this evening because he is pissed. You know what that means. Down. The New Day then kicked off the show proper, and while I do genuinely love their energy and joy, and it's true, I really do, sometimes we do have to observe what we're seeing and comment on that, especially when it makes no sense. I just want to point out that I still love watching WWE, even if it's taking in the product and then coming on here and sharing my thoughts and feelings with you guys. Usually I'm having a whale of a time, but it doesn't mean we can let craziness slide. As Kofi Kingston began to promote his match at Extreme Rules for the WWE title against Samoa Joe, he was interrupted by Dolph Ziggler, who said that none of this was fair because he had done all the heavy lifting and now other people were taking credit for his work. What? You tried and you failed twice, Dolph, and also saying that Kofi took the easy way out during your steel cage match at Stomping Grounds when you did the exact same thing. He just happened to dive over you and get to the floor before you could, doesn't justify anything. And I know Dolph Ziggler's a heel, so he should be saying stuff like this, but the problem is what happened next. It all would have been fine, as I say, if it hadn't ended with the announcement that for the SmackDown main event this evening, we are going to get Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston, and if Ziggler wins, he will be inserted into that triple threat match, and the stipulation will be 2 out of 3 falls. This, of course, was done to appease the new advert rule that Vince McMahon apparently has brought into the mix. And again, to go back to yesterday's ups and downs, where some people got confused, I have no problem with ad breaks. I have no problem with commercials. I understand that's how business works. I've been watching WWE for a long ass time, and they've always existed. What I don't enjoy is WWE booking their program around said commercial breaks, because that's the only reason we're getting 2 out of 3 falls matches. And on this episode of SmackDown, we didn't get one, but we will talk about that in a bit. Give it a down. Just to prove my point, we then saw The Miz heading towards Shane McMahon's office backstage, but he was stopped by Elias. All of a sudden, The Miz is a completely different character than what he was on Raw, because now he wants to get revenge against Shane O'Mac, and he said to Elias, you go in there and you tell him that I want a match with him tonight. It didn't happen. The Miz left. Shane McMahon, hearing the fracas, came out. So Shane said, all right, well, tonight, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Elias versus The Miz, and if The Miz wins, I will face him again. And it's going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. I mean, that is dumb, right? That is absolutely dumb. Again, it's not about characters, it's not about stories, it's not about narratives. It's about the fact that a 2 out of 3 falls match has natural breaks, and therefore we can stick a commercial in it. That's like me just going, well, I really enjoyed this segment, brown down. You'd be like, but wait, Simon, you said you enjoyed it, and now you're giving it a brown down. Don't worry about the brown down. We'll get to the brown down later, but this, getting a regular down. We weren't done with this structuring either, because another new favourite toy of WWE is to start one match, have that finish, and then use some of those participants to then have another match with some new guys, because once again, that forms a natural break. It's getting ridiculous. However, This match just so happened to be the New Day versus Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, and I can't get mad at that, mostly because I'm in love with Daniel Bryan. Give it up. It was a non-title match, and maybe somewhat surprisingly, the New Day actually won here after hitting the up, up, down, down, or the midnight hour, whatever you want to call it, on Daniel Bryan. Now, I understand why Bryan has to keep eating pinfalls. He's done it a lot over the last few weeks, but he's Daniel Bryan. He can survive anything. He's bulletproof. But yeah, as soon as the bell had rung and this match was finished, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn ran out there and they were beating up the New Day. Then Eric Rowan joined in, probably because Big E doesn't recycle or something. And then Heavy Machinery are out there to balance out the odds. And that then transitioned into Daniel Bryan, Rowan, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Heavy Machinery and the New Day. See, you already know how this finished too if you are a long-time watcher of Ups and Downs, so let's bring it down. It is, of course, the Sami Tally. And if you don't know what that is, the Sami Tally is just a little board that we always mark when Sami Zayn is in a match and he takes the pinfall. Because he always takes the pinfall, he's not allowed to win matches. This has only been going for around about a week and a half, and right now, there it is. We're already on 4. Because I tell you, Sami Zayn, he not allowed to win ever. He not allowed to do nothing. Here he got hit by the compactor, 1, 2, 3, and that was it. He screwed up. Also, just before this, Kevin Owens walked off because he was so disgusted in what he was seeing. Let's see if that actually goes anywhere. We also found out that if Nikki Cross beats Bayley later on, Alexa Bliss will get a rematch for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Extreme Rules. And yes, that's meant to hurt your brain. So very upsettingly, the bonkersness just continued as we did have The Miz versus Elias in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And again, for starters, it makes no sense why on Raw, Shane McMahon and The Miz don't care about each other, but they do on SmackDown, and also The Miz's babyface run is just being absolutely killed because here, he was absolutely killed. Don't just give it a down, give it a brown down. Elias won the first fall in around about 8 seconds after Shane McMahon interference. The Miz then just so happened to win the second fall, but that's because Shane McMahon interfered, meaning Elias got DQ'd. Shane McMahon Elias then whooped the hell out of The Miz, which means Elias was able to get to the top rope, hit his elbow drop, and yes, win the second fall. He got beaten up like he was a tomato and Shane McMahon gave him a spear, all Roman Reigns, and he gave him the coast to coast, and I was left with many questions. One, where was The Undertaker? I don't expect to see him on back-to-back shows, but within the wrestling storyline, that would have made sense. 2, where was Roman Reigns? Why is nobody coming out to try and assist The Miz? All it does is it makes Miz look like an absolute asshole who has no friends, and nobody would even want to go out there and give him some assistance, even if they're sick of Shane McMahon and Elias. Also, why wasn't Elias in Shane McMahon's team on Raw? I know the wildcard Raw and the brand split, but we're just playing so fast and loose with it. Then, however, WWE did give me just a little glimmer of hope. Finn Balor was back on television, and who knows where he's been. I hope somebody notified his parents, and he was telling us that he was really proud of his fight with Andrade, and Andrade brought it him, and he came this close to winning his Intercontinental Championship, but he wasn't able to. So when he was asked, well, Finn, what's next for you? Guess who walked into the picture? It was Shinsuke Nakamura. I audibly squealed when that happened because boy howdy do I want to see that match. Just give it to me, just plug it into my veins. Up. Bayley versus Nikki Cross followed, and it's actually quite hard to know what to do here because compared to most stories, this is running week to week. It connects over Raw and SmackDown, and we are getting a bit of characterization with Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, and the SmackDown Women's Champ. So while it wasn't amazing or incredible or anything like that, I'm grading on a curve here. Giving it up. It was short and sweet, but it did have moments within it, even if the finish was a little bit crazy. The two were just rolling each other up, and then eventually Nikki Cross was able to hold Bayley down a little bit stronger than she was able to, and she did get a clean win over Bayley. Now I get it, being the SmackDown Women's Champ, that's not the best, especially because the stipulation here now says that Nikki Cross doesn't get a shot, but Alexa Bliss does. But hey ho, it kind of all sticks together, maybe just a little bit, who knows. I mean, mostly, if we get to the pay-per-view and Nikki Cross finally realizes what's going on, I will be alright with this. But who knows anymore, right? Who knows? R-Truth though, man. R-Truth, the highlight of my wrestling existence. He can have it up. It started with Carmella looking for our 24/7 champion before bumping into Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, and they had a little bit of an argument. At first I was like, well, that was a whole lot of nothing, but if you kept your eyes peeled, you saw Rambling Rabbit in the background, which means Bray Wyatt continues to stalk everyone. Truth then appeared from nowhere, as did Drake Maverick. And here Drake Maverick was a broken man. He blamed Truth for crushing his dreams and crushing his wedding because all he had wanted was to become 24/7 champion. Our Truth embraced Drake and said, look, if it means that much to you, you should have just said something. Go get a referee and I will allow you to win this title. And just as Maverick's face showed a little bit of happiness, Truth went, ha 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 ha, nope, and he ran off. Not gonna lie, quite enjoyed it. It was really immature, and the sight of Drake getting knocked over as the chasing pack then ran after our Truth, well, it got a kick out of me. As I said yesterday, WWE knows this is dumb. They make sure it is dumb. 2 thumbs. Sonya Deville then rolled up Ember Moon for the victory with the most devastating finisher in all of WWE, the roll-up. You know what? This wasn't too bad at all. The story is ridiculous and they were given no time, but Ember and Sonya are far better than they're allowed to show, and they kind of had glimpses of it here, and the finish was all right too. I mean, it was Mandy Rose causing the distraction, but at least then Deville shoved Ember Moon into the ring post, and that looked like it really hurt, and then pinned her in the ring. Again, everything mostly needs more depth and more thought, but in terms of a match on SmackDown of people trying to go, hey, I think you should do more with me, they ticked a lot of boxes. Give it up. Aleister Black was then in his dark room getting really, really angry because nobody would answer his challenge. But then there was a knock at the door and all the lights went out. Now on the show, we didn't see who this was, which is smart by WWE because it gives you a reason to tune into SmackDown next week. And also, Aleister Black was over the moon about this. He had a big smile on his face like this. So again, to reiterate, we don't know who was at the door, but I, as a wrestling journalist, have gone out there and I've obtained exclusive footage so you know who Aleister Black's first opponent, or at least who was knocking at the door, is going to be. Roll it. All right, Aleister Black, it's me, Repo Man. I'd love to give you a fight. If you could just ask WWE to actually give me a contract so I can come back for real, I promise you I'll turn everything around. I'm guaranteed ratings. And then it was our main event, and yeah, what a bizarre episode of SmackDown this really was. And as mad as I think this obsession with 2 out of 3 falls matches is, you gotta take your hat off, which I'm not wearing, I would have got a hat if I thought about it, and say that Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler are 2 brilliant pro wrestlers, and this was probably the best encounter they've had since they started feuding. Call a spade, and give it up. The first fall went to Kofi Kingston after Dolph Ziggler had tried to pin him, but he put his hand on the rope. The ref spied that and went, Dolph, what are you doing, man? You can't play me like that. And with all of the confusion, Kofi rolled up Dolph to get the 1, 2, 3. I swear, that maneuver is more devastating than the two-tone pile driver. The second fall went to Dolph after he had given Kofi Kingston a super kick, and he'd also beat the absolute hoo-ha out of him between these 2 falls. And that was actually quite something, because I don't think Kofi Kingston has been pinned ever since he became WWE champion. Now, he may have been, but the fact I think that way is a testament to WWE, because they have booked Kofi very strongly. So good work on that. The final 4 went to Kofi, which is good, because that means hopefully this Ziggler feud can now be put to bed. He hit the Trouble in Paradise, he got that 1, 2, 3, and that means we can roll into Extreme Rules with Samoa Joe versus Kofi Kingston for the championship, and that's what I want to see. Not only that, I want to see Samoa Joe win. I've been thinking about it. I want a devastating heel champion that Kofi can chase, and Samoa Joe is my guy. Also, it would just be nice to change things up right now, wouldn't it? Done right, it could even turn things around entirely. I think Samoa Joe is money, and I don't think we put enough fire under that guy's ass. So yes, it was another mad episode of SmackDown, which kind of ties into Raw, but kind of doesn't at the same time. And really, that is the main issue. It was fine when it was his own separate entity, and ever since then, the stories are convoluted and strange, and some tie into Monday and some don't. I mean, there is some hope, because apparently on one of WWE's B shows, or main event, whatever you want to call it, EC3 Cesaro and Bobby Roode were teasing some kind of union, some kind of group, and I'd like to see that. But look, if we do keep doing these 2 out of 3 falls matches, or just throwing a few extra people into a match so it can continue just to satisfy commercial breaks, it's gonna get old really quickly. And again, I understand commercials are important, and I'm almost respect WWE for trying to come up with ways that allow us, the home audience, to see all the matches, but I already know, because people have tweeted me telling me, the live crowd are now sat in there and they're starting to chant, "We want wrestling." So because of all of that, because it's just so confusing, unfortunately, this episode of SmackDown, there's my little wheelie of arrow thing. I hate doing it. Got to get it down. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's SmackDown. Like, share, and subscribe. Head on to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, including one called Ups and Downs. I don't write it, so you get some other opinions. Follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Remember, there's a special episode of Ups and Downs this Sunday when we up those downs for AEW's Fyter Fest. I will see you then.